Hello and welcome back to the Games Kingdom. My name's Carl King, and today we're going to have the second part of an earlier sort of look at and review of Spellcrow's new Haunted Wood. So as you can see here, I've sort of had a go at painting them up and sort of adding a few little tufts of things to the bases, and you can see that I've sort of added in some of the branches as I mentioned earlier. There are some spares, so we've got sort of like a few left over here. You don't have to use them all, but I used as many as I could on the trees themselves. So if we go in for a bit of a sort of close-up, you can see that I've put some grass and stuff on the base, and each individual tree has got a different colour of mushroom on it. And the reason I did just one colour of mushroom on each tree is because if it's on the table and you want to use it as a reference point, I thought if you just said it's the one with the yellow mushrooms or the red ones or the purple, then obviously because they just have the one colour rather than a mixture, it's easier to sort of use those as a sort of reference point, because the rest of the bases and the trees are, you know, not so much identical, but they are obviously very similar. So the mushrooms being used as the individual sort of point of reference. So let's sort of turn these around a little bit and we can have a bit more of a flyby. So as you can see, they've come out, I think they've come out quite nicely, and sort of quite spooky and very sort of, as the thing says, very sort of a haunted look. The base is painted up really nicely as well, and what I'll do, I'll sort of run through the colour schemes and things and what I did. So I started off with the trees themselves and the branches. I painted them all on the sprue, as I said in my first video. So I based all of the trees and the branches with a GW contrast snakebite leather, and then I used a couple of highlights. I used Troll Claws from Army Painter, followed by the Army Painter Brain Matter Beige, and then I went over the tree with Army Painter Green Tone just to sort of dull those off a little bit, but still giving some, as you can see, some of those sort of Brain Matter Beige and Troll Claw as a little bit of a highlight on the sort of raised areas. And then the mushrooms base colours were all sort of, as I say, all done sort of the same on each tree. So I did a Avalon Sunset and Mephiston Red, and then a contrast Shyish Purple. So the first two are GW, sort of standard colours, and then obviously you've got one of their new contrast paints. And then on each of the mushrooms I did some white dots just to sort of make them stand out a little bit. The bases were originally sort of painted all over in a sort of Mornfang brown from GW. And then I did a sort of highlight over that of contrast skeleton horde, and then sort of just touched up little bits here and there, like the roots that you can see sort of poking through. They were done with just the bare tree colour of the snakebite leather, and I've left that sort of pretty much without any highlights on, just so it sort of looks like they're still covered in sort of the mud and stuff of the ground that they've pushed themselves through. Then on the rocks we've got a base coat of Eshin Grey, and then a contrast of Griff Charger Grey over the top of each of the rocks. Hopefully you can see that there, and the sort of light is picking that out. And then on the sort of little bits that you can see, I did some of the Avalon Sunset again, just on the little sort of raised areas near the rocks and some of the sort of little breakthrough areas. and then I added some grass tufts, which I sort of cut little strips off a sort of longer strip of tufted grass with a few sort of little petals and things on, just to sort of break up the ground and make it look like it's a sort of hardy grass that's sort of growing anywhere, as some of these grasses will do. Even the sort of wildest of conditions, you still get some grass growing. So that's what I've tried to depict with that. And personally, I think these trees are excellent. Cracking value for the cost. As I say, you can go to www.spellcrow.com to have a look at these and the other ranges of terrain and sort of accessories that they are now producing, which their range is ever growing. And they also do a nice range of boxed and individual sort of models for both their own games, but as I said in the first video, you can use those models for any sort of game that you're currently playing. These are going to fit in particularly well with some sort of fantasy settings, but could also be used equally as well on a sort of alien world, or you know, a sort of sci-fi setting where, you know, there's a sort of barren wasteland type area. But these would look good potentially sort of dotted around things like graveyards and cemeteries and things like that, mausoleums in sort of a fantasy world. So again, this is from Spellcrow, and check out their website, once again www.spellcrow.com, and we'll see you again soon for another review or unboxing and or playthrough. So until then, bye for now.